They say we should have known better than to fall so deep down into this rabbit hole we found. And I was thinking.
Hi, this is Nikolai, and you're listening to My Dad Rafal, co-host James Jardine, and featuring Mr. Jim Tiller on the one and only Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast. Plug in, listen up, and enjoy.
Deep into this pool of regrettable situations. Pitch black, think back to the last time that we were happy.
Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome down the Security Rabbit Hole to the industry's longest continuously running cybersecurity podcast, the Down the Security Rabbit Hole podcast, your source for, stuff related to our industry and sometimes not. Like this episode where I grabbed a couple of people I used to work with at arguably my favorite team of all time. Some of them showed up here. Hopefully one will drop in a little later because she's doing this thing called work. We'll just get chat through. All right, quick intros. We'll start ladies first. MacKenzie, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi.
Introduce yourself. Tell the good people what you do.
My name's MacKenzie Brown. It's been 10 days since I won't start that. I am a VP at Blackpoint Cyber. I run a team called the Adversary Pursuit Group, which is a threat intelligence and threat research team. Pouring one out for the fallen homies who will be joining us late, hopefully, or not at all.
All right. Great intro. I love it. I can tell this is going to be fun already. The original Mark Arnold. How are you, bud?
I'm doing great.
Good. Tell the good people what you do.
Probably not as exciting as our girl MacKenzie's job is, but I'm VP of advisory at Laris Consulting. We are an offensive security company. We do all the things, red, purple, just all the things. And then we, after we tear things down, I help build the things up. So that's pretty much what I'm doing these days.
I feel like we need
That's
a chat
awesome.
after this, Mark. To put on the business hat.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
Listen, so for those of you guys that don't know, we work together at Optic in the Office of the CISO, Solutions Research and Development. We built program frameworks. I have my hands on a few of them, thanks to a friend who I won't name because he might be in trouble. But I have, we did some work together, guys. We went out and did some honest to goodness research, like real talking to people, getting ideas, formulating hypotheses, proving and disproving, and then writing some good stuff. And I am proud of the work we all did. And it's good to have you guys back on because this stuff comes up so regularly in conversations with people. Because I've run into customers that we meet with their CISOs or whatever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, hey, wasn't this your team?" They hold up that blueprint, and I was like, "Yes, it was," and you still use that, and that's awesome.
Heck yes.
That was a good time. Mac, which ones did you put author to? I don't even remember.
The last one I had wrapped up was the application security one, but
That one was fun.
I have to find that one. Where does that still exist somewhere? I need that, like right now.
I do. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, given the state of software security, I'd say it's probably due for
There you go. I see something.
major update. But yeah,
Exactly.
incident management. And then I got pulled in because of that to the world of incident response. And now I have, IR PTSD. So
I hear you.
Yeah, but the world of IR isn't so bad. I mean, you work with Jeff. You work with Wickman for a while, right?
oh yes, I love him. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Jeff's out there.
Okay.
Shout out.
Mark.
Shout out to Jeff.
That's right, Mark. Mark, which one did you have? I don't remember.
I had all the cloud stuff.
I
Also,
can't find that.
some
I
updates.
don't have a physical copy of that one.
I have a digital copy of it, but I just remember working on it in trepidation, knowing that Mogul and Hoff and all those guys, Mike Roth, I'm like, can't come up with something as great as those guys are putting out. But when we finally got it completed, it was like our baby. It was just amazing to look at. And one of the things I miss being away from Optic is we had a kick-ass marketing team. We got nothing now. Got nothing now.
Yeah,
no.
well, let's not.
Well, we have a marketing team, but that team was like stellar.
I don't think people truly appreciate, categorically, I'll just say, building frameworks until you don't appreciate a marketing team until you've gone through the editing and design process. I mean, yes, I'm thankful for the boot camp you put me through, Raph, of just making all of my documents bleed red, like in your commentary of like, what the heck is this? What do you mean here? This makes sense. And I'm like, oh God, okay.
Sorry.
He was AI before there was AI. That's what that red stuff was.
I tell my team this, my marketing team this all the time, and it is the God's honest truth. I am absolutely dog poop as far as like editing someone else's content. And so I have to try really hard because I don't have this. I don't know. Some people do and they're good at it. I'm not good at this where I put myself in the frame of mind of the person writing. So I'm like, I wouldn't have said it that way. And I was like, red line it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's good training though, because I feel like when you write things though, you tend to do your own voice, and I'm pretty verbose as it is, especially in writing. And so yeah, less is more, especially
I
as
recall that.
I'll write an email and I'll go back and I'll be like, delete, too many words. Nope.
Less is more. Less is more.
Yeah, I've not tried the rewrite with AI function, but I suspect that some of mine, I now use Grammarly. Remember I introduced you guys to Grammarly? That was
I still use Grammarly. Are you
I do too, 100%.
I got all the badges. I have all the Grammarly badges. It's like right now.
Nice.
Every day.
My man.
People need it. People forget. It's a really handy one. You can even make a plugin for just like get it there. Like click that thing.
Listen, the Mark Twain quote, I would have written more. I would have written less, but I didn't have enough time. Is so perfectly apropos because I can be so verbose too. And then somebody's like, "Listen, I asked you for a quote. I said 2 or 3 lines. 6 pages is probably too much."
Yeah, absolutely. I know between you and my PhD advisor, I think I've been beaten down over writing sufficiently. Yeah.
But you guys were both really good writers, and your stuff is still out. I'm telling you, your stuff is still out there. It's being used in real life. You know what I feel like we should at some point do? Take the stuff that we wrote and find, like, Mac, you live in Intel and IR world. Mark, you live in advisory world, right? Like, let's revisit some of those things and let's like write an update to some of these things. I think these models, my position is that these models would have stood the test of time. Because when did we publish these? Hold on, does it say on these things? 2017. This is 2017.
That's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
I'm willing to bet that this model that stands today, it could just be updated, not completely rebuilt.
Absolutely.
That's my position.
The IR one, better risk. I think all of those are security operations. I think it's the introduction, like you said, of learning models and new regulations and different things that probably would need to be updated in there.
A little bit, yeah. But cloud one, I think the cloud one would be a little bit more complex these days, given the the way things have accelerated. So that'd be an interesting exercise to see how that blueprint would change. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think that one thing that sticks in my head is we chased after KPIs and KRIs. I don't know if you all remember that.
I do.
And because we don't.
It's very painful.
And we're supposed to be doing that. I wish we could do more of that because folks don't get it after the first iteration of their programs that you've got to measure at some point, and we don't do a good job of that still.
Yeah,
still to this day, we certainly do not. And I think it's really funny that I think as people come to me, because like I said, I get pinged fairly regularly on these things, but I get questions on like, hey, have you looked at it? And the honest answer is no. I don't sit and spend a whole lot of time thinking about these things right now. Probably could, but I've looked at so security incident management, right? Let's
Oh, no.
I need that again. I need the copy.
I may know where to go get that.
My apartment when we wrote that.
But like, you know, we have this measuring and improving section in
measuring, yes.
Number of open and accepted program gaps, right? Like, look at things that matter at the program level. And I think that, again, we don't do enough of that. And I think what we uncovered, which is I think it was revelations at the time. I think it still might actually be relatively novel outside of those that practice it every day. So like, not everybody, but I think this will be interesting to a few different people. The things you measure change with the maturity of the organization or the program. And we're not good at this. We decide we're going to measure, you know, how many tickets you have, and you measure that over the span of like 5 years. That's only relevant early on, because later nobody cares.
Maturity too, because that's not gauging maturity. Just being able to do general
you're just counting. You're just counting things.
You're just counting.
That's right.
1, 2. On deux, trois.
You're like, oh, we did 2 for this quarter. That means we're improving. Like, no, that doesn't mean it at all. Yeah. I have learned on. I do feel like in general, I guess I could bring it back to the focus groups of also getting a room full of CISOs while they're counting down until their free lunch. But ultimately, getting them all in a room and getting them to agree was not the easiest task. Just getting to building out KPIs, when it's like there's also complete background to KPIs. People have to have a way to measure them, and I've learned that is like herding cats sometimes. Just getting the counting numbers seems to be difficult. So gotta love, let alone the maturity modeling of it.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a tough one for me. Like you mentioned herding cats, like getting things, understanding what better looks like in the next step of evolution of any part of your anything you do. It's not just security though. It's a couple of shows ago we were talking about, and my good friend Raja was on the show, had this great quote. He's like, you know, I think the whole concept of a SOC is broken because we're measuring the wrong things essentially, right? We're people are complaining that, you know, the SOC is turned into like the help desk of security. And when you count how many tickets you've closed, that's kind of what you're doing, right? That's like, are we surprised? Really though? Yeah. I can't imagine why.
And that's definitely not a measurement. I mean, just looking at some of the performance metrics we look at for our SOC, it's not just how many tickets you're closing, but time to close, as well as time for resolution, touching base, the feedback loop that goes into it from, you know, we're an MDR company at Blackpoint. So those metrics are literally our bread and butter of what we focus on. And it's so much more than just how many tickets did you have now versus then.
Because that's not insightful for the client, right? That's
right.
There's nothing to that story.
Like a graph where the client numbers go up, right? You're getting more adoption, more deployments, but the tickets or time to close is not also going
going
down. Like people don't realize. Like I like basic graphs like that. Good number. Like,
and bad number. Yeah.
Bad
absolutely.
Number.
Well, in the AppSec world, I used to show this graph, and this is funny because I did a presentation at B-Sides Nashville. God, it's been, I think, 10 years. And it had I took I think it was from our time together. I took a graph that I had seen somebody put in a AppSec presentation about their program. And it without context, it's just number of vulnerabilities and time. And the graph does this. And I just asked the people that are sitting there listening to me talking, like, what does this show? And they're like, you're getting better, you're getting worse, you're getting better, you're getting worse, you're getting better. Or just, and then for a while it just starts climbing. Like, what is happening here in this interval? Well, it turns out that you uncovered an entire new section of the business that you'd never done security reviews for their code before. So to expect it to continue to go down is kind of silly, because now you've got a new
right.
Right. So Man, we could do this all day. 'Cause measuring stuff has now become like my my soapbox. It's so easy to show the wrong thing and convey the wrong message, because I fancy myself a bit of a storyteller when it comes to, like, what I really do. And if you've got graphs and numbers that don't tell the right story, or it's not self-evident by looking at it, then you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah. It's almost
Exactly.
like a little bit manipulative too, because you can absolutely create your own story with whatever numbers you're looking at. You don't have to factor in all the stats. You just pull the ones you want and cross compare them and make them look nice. And
that's my concern. Can we ever really score with integrity? There's like there's no consensus. I mean, we have the companies out there that are scoring things, but it's not like, Microsoft. It's not like MasterCard, Visa, where they have a rating system that all those companies adhere to. But we don't have, and we still haven't gotten to that point in security where there's a consensus set of scoring measures or guardrails. It's
true.
To your point, we manipulate all the time.
Yeah, we regulate a lot of things, but we don't regulate performance.
Well, what's the thing? What's the quote? Metrics don't lie. People who make them up do.
Yeah.
You're the man with all the quotes today.
Yeah.
I've been in one of those weeks where it's like it's end of year, so a lot of customers are in freeze, so they're doing nothing. You know what's funny is when I left GE early 2000s, like, oh, thank God I'm away from this. This is going to go away hopefully soon with agile technology and cloud and all these different development methodologies. We're going to stop doing this, like, 1 week before Thanksgiving to 1 week after New Year's. Nobody touch anything in the data center. It's been almost 20 years. Where the hell is that? I want those days, because they're not here yet.
I think you're still going to be sitting on a rocking chair with like a shotgun in your hand on a porch going like, back
in those days.
I don't think it's ever gonna, unfortunately.
That's hysterical.
Again, the incident response world has made me a teeny pessimistic when it comes to like progress of the industry.
You think?
There is progress.
I hear you.
Mark, I have a feeling. Look, listen, we were I think the peak of my optimism is when we were writing this content, because it gave you hope as to what you could achieve. Because there were companies that were freaking doing it. You're like, that's what world class looks like. And you look at the audience and go, none of you are ever going to get there.
We were cheerleaders for program development, and
yes.
No one else could do program development. Like, it was not.
I think that it has a lot to do with we still have the haves and have-nots, right? We can. I remember walking into certain companies. You put a stack of documents together, come back a year later, documents never left the shelf. They got dust on them. It's like, so there's intention, and then there's those who just don't have the budget or support or team to do these things, to go and do.
The company I met you at when you were there was the epitome of this. We don't need to mention names. We both know.
We're still doing work for that company under this company. So.
And I'm sure they still need you very desperately.
Man, tell me about it. So.
Oh my goodness. It's interesting because we all three of us ended up in like essentially in consulting roles, right? I'm on the post-sales client side, helping people figure out which way to point which way to point the shotgun to get the maximum effect. MacKenzie, you're cleaning up people's messes.
I'm just trying to build something beautiful too, and it's still hurting cats always.
Let me know when you get there. I said that. Like that, as close as I've ever come to build something beautiful was what this team did, and that's why I'm going to do this. I wanted to get the show together because I felt like we did something that's actually cool. Like we did what Gartner could do if they actually cared about the industry rather than just making money.
Yeah, well, especially now.
Sorry, Gartner.
Is it Gartner that does what's the name of like the EDR testing basically now against specific vendors? And however that's measured, whatever magic formula they're using for efficacy on that side. But yeah, I feel like I feel like there's a huge gap in. I mean, I guess I was a lot more optimistic that people would still adopt programs, but I did. Moving into the IR space, it definitely did a major tour of duty in the tabletop exercise world.
Tabletops. Yeah.
Nothing makes you just doubt, I don't know, executive function more than doing tabletops for too long. Absolutely.
Listen, you don't want to be there in the midst of it before doing something like that. I've been in it twice. It is not good times, and so I think you're spot on. I mean, even though we go through the tabletops, to your point, we see how crazy things are and how unprepared folks are. It's like, does that really happen? Can it really happen that way? I'm like, yeah, it can. So I don't know.
Did you have the vulnerability management framework?
We did. We had who did that one?
Did you do that? I can't remember.
Did it ever get off the ground? That one?
Because I feel like of a lot of ones people could leverage today would be that one and cloud, like the two primary ones. That
I think I'm going to say incident response. I'm going to put my vote on incident response. So yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm with MacKenzie, Mark. I think vulnerability. You know what?
Oh, well,
vulnerability management, it may be a brick too far. I'm going to stick with vulnerability reporting because I've had this conversation 4 times this week, and it's Friday. And it is 2024. I just had a conversation with somebody about the state of their vulnerability management program, wherein they do scanning, active scanning. And I mentioned, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I said, okay, so, you guys, you can take your active scans, you can take your, authenticated scans. And the guy starts laughing. And I'm like, I'm going to pretend that I don't now believe that you don't do authenticated scans. He goes, oh, no, we do. But there are, 74 ADs in this large environment. He goes, I don't have access to about half of them.
74. Good Lord.
I'm not even going to ask.
Where do you go with that?
Exactly.
But that's real life, right? Like it all sucks.
So I'll give you that one. People need that vulnerability management blueprint. Just the other day, I'm talking to a client. I said, so show me your vulnerability management plan. I get 2 documents that are exactly the same. And there's like 2 lines in it that says we have a vulnerability scanner. I'm like, that is not a plan.
That's called you had an audit, and this is all the auditor required for.
And you gave me 2 documents that are exactly the same. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? I'm gonna get you a template.
You're like, I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this, but
I need you to sit down for a moment and breathe into this bag because it's about to get bad.
Not trying to cast shade, but it's like, that's where we are in some of these environments, and so
cool.
That's what we need a blueprint for. So
I think a vulnerability management blueprint would be helpful because many of those failings lead to incident response already. I mean, nowadays.
You just said something. You just said something nice. So.
Do we have a sponsor for this show, Raf, of a vulnerability management vendor? Because they would really benefit off that. But truly, like, I think that's the state of the world right now is you don't, what we're tracking are adversaries targeting, and it's not even just 0 days. It's just unpatched appliances and systems. I'm only saying this because I have to hear Fortinet every other day, but another Fortinet vulnerability, but like that actually impacts your entire environment. And so the time to meet objective for a bad guy is a lot shorter now if they just target the right things that are unpatched.
It's funny you just said that.
But we leave, and so look, this is the thing. We were talking about tech debt yesterday and it's not, this one's not, well, at the time we're recording that one's not released yet, but it will be shortly. Where we were talking about technical debt, and I don't know how we got down that rabbit hole so far, but we started talking about technical debt, right? Like, how do we, is it realistic to get rid of it? What's the reality of tech debt? And I think I would venture to say tech debt is probably the thing that drives a lot of vulnerability management over the edge, because it's not the new stuff you keep finding. It's the fact that you never get rid of the old stuff.
And you keep scanning the old stuff.
Yes.
Backlog.
Keep scanning the old stuff. I'm like,
Right.
There's zero
come on.
action control too. They have no inventory or control or any sort of governance over
Also that.
what's considered normal and allowed.
Listen, you just
they
said
don't-
something. You just
They don't
asset
do security, they
asset
don't-
management.
Asset management, like
It's still the number one thing in all the frameworks. Every framework it starts with
it's
asset
never
management.
changed. It's never changed. Like, I mean, we're forcing
Come
a
on.
lot of identity and access stuff, which is important, even more so because it bleeds into the cloud world. But man, just people struggle with the asset management and they just that's the sprawl. It's all the SaaS sprawl that we have that people just
That's
completely
happening as well. Yes.
neglect.
That
This feels
Yeah.
more like a support group situation.
I know,
this is therapy, okay? I didn't want to be overt about it, but yes, this is kind of therapeutic. Listen, I these things are tied together, but I think if somebody's going to shoot me for saying this so many times, but like we still suck at the fundamentals of IT. And yes, I know there are new technologies every day, and we had a discussion about this yesterday about like, okay, AI is gonna come in and make things better, and maybe that's the case. But if you've got stuff that you can't patch because it's too old to patch and it doesn't work with any of your new stuff, I'm not entirely sure AI is gonna be like, suddenly I have an answer, sir. Please do that. No, it's gonna be like, hey, what's that crap over there like that I don't have any memory of because it didn't. I didn't, I can't get the data.
Right.
It's the boat anchor that drags the boat into the ocean.
Well, I also
There
think a
you
little
go.
bit is in like the legacy concept too is we have such a dependency on operational downtime or lack thereof. And so people will bucket things that they don't need to be concerned about. And then they forget to patch the things that get them to that bucket from an adversary attack chain. And so it's kind of like they're not connecting the dots between the likelihood of what could happen and what's actually going to impact them the most.
And that's what we go on to show people that this is what can happen.
All right, your offensive side.
All right. So
So now you've moved from telling people how to do better, but also you're like, well, let me just show you.
Well, so what we try to do is couple. We're to show you guys, but then we also say, here's the way that you should try to build it. But we can't get everyone to buy into that package, but that's what we are trying to practice and preach to clients.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on the investigation side doing a similar thing. We're like, here's everything that happened. Here's the debriefing. Here's why it happened and what you should fix. Give it a couple months or another year, they're going to be a client again, unfortunately, because they didn't.
That's the sad thing, right? Is anytime I think we have these situations where we go, no, this stuff from back then, like that's out of scope. Like we don't need to worry about that. You're like, okay, I'll see you when that stuff gets hacked and used against all your new shiny things, because your new shiny things, sure, they'll be patched for a little while because they just got off the assembly line, but in 3 weeks they'll all be vulnerable too.
Same stuff, same tactics work most of the time, man. I'm telling you. Regardless of if they're new or old, we're doing the same thing.
Yeah. It's actually getting,
it's funny. We could do like quarterly, yearly, biannually, every decade conversation, and I don't know that in 10 years if this conversation will be any different.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I'm very interested in the way we count things and then being able to measure them. If I can get to that place of nirvana, then I'd feel better about myself and the work that we do. I just don't think that there's enough attention paid to those things because we're still caught up in the day-to-day, the ad hoc react to, so that we don't get to that place where it's highly operational, unless you're at very efficient companies. I don't know.
I agree.
Very efficient is an interesting way to put it, Mark.
Yeah, that's nebulous and vague. So how do you count that? How do you assess? How do you measure that? What is that?
Well, I think the commonality between all the frameworks was executive buy-in, to be honest. I think it was the executive function and component of every single one. And so you're taking time to translate all of these individual programs that are really important to executives that now have to say, okay, how much is that going to cost me? And so we're just in a world where the cost isn't worth the risk, and just accepting risk becomes more prevalent.
But you guys have heard me say this, though. Every time somebody says risk, I think Inigo Montoya. You keep using that word, but I do not think it means what you think it means.
There you go.
Right? I mean,
that's very good, though. That's it. You hit it on the nail. That's it. That's spot on.
Well, it depends
let's
how they
be honest. Like,
they're measuring risk, so it benefits them. This feels like Consultants Anonymous, to be honest.
We're not anonymous. Hi, my name's Rev, and I'm a consultant. It has been 17 years since my last engagement. Oh my goodness, you guys, this is fun. It's fun though, because we tell stories and we laugh about stuff that was relevant back then, is relevant now, and it will be relevant. I don't think so. The things I think that we covered in the content that we put together, and this is what I think is awesome, is because we talked about the framework and maturity, we weren't pointing to specific, like, hey, you need to buy this brand of this widget or this generation of this product. This is about making things better, and that can be looked at. Sure, some of it, the language may be dated because the kids be risen up. Then is that the right word? I don't know.
I don't know, bro.
Bedazzling. What's the right word? I don't know. I hear funny language these days, and it really makes me feel old. But the terminology changes. The concepts haven't changed, right? The fundamentals of how to do basic risk analysis is not new. The concept that every business takes 1 million risks every day. You take 1 million risks before your morning coffee, right? Like, and you make those calculations in your head. You don't even think about it anymore. But like right now, we know Salt Typhoon, right? Some adversaries are in our telco network, so SMS is unsafe. Okay, that's fine. They're like, oh, you can get off of SMS, and I'm there. I probably use Signal and WhatsApp and stuff more often than not, but like where I'm, what time I'm picking up my kids. Like if the Chinese want that information, I'm not a particularly important person. Like I don't care. I don't like, I'll see you at 2 p.m. Okay. Like, no, I mean, but the fundamentals of what risk is, how to treat it, the fact that you can accept it, you can defer it, or you can remediate it. Now there's a fourth one, you can insure against it, but that might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still excited about the stuff that we did. I'm still excited about the fact that we can. I'm about halfway convinced that, actually probably more than halfway, based on this conversation, we need to do this. We need to redo this content.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of work.
That sounds like work.
That sounds like more editing, Raph. I don't want to do it.
That sounds like what?
We need to refresh. She said more editing, more red lines.
Or better yet, let's just take all of these blueprints and put them into AI and see if AI can.
He said no. He said no. Don't do it. He said no. Don't do it.
No, don't do that. That's no, because I'm afraid of what's going to come out of it. I'm honestly scared, because AI is wonderful until you give it to lawyers and they suddenly start citing case law that's never existed, right? Like in this incident, this case, of a law judge is like, wait, that's not a thing. You're like, oh crap, did I not forget to double check that the AI didn't make stuff up? What? And you guys saw that one, right? That was out for a while. Like some lawyer got busted.
No. I mean, I've seen other things.
Ouch.
I've actually seen incident response reports and plans built out by AI.
Yeah.
It's this. Yeah. Just like, here's our plan, and even policy writing. But I think that's also the reality of where we've been for the past 5 years is, I mean, the reliance on insurance and the reliance on our obligations to meet SOC 2 and GDPR and ISO and all the stuff we like to ignore. Unfortunately, I feel like the regulatory frameworks tend to put more pressure on people, and they just fill in the blanks, and it's actually really easy to pass an audit. There are exceptions policies for reasons. So
exactly.
I just feel like that's been driving the industry for so long. And I personally have yet to walk through a net diligence conference, but I'm curious. I'm honestly really curious to see what the insurance world and the cyber world meet and the type of discussions that go on there.
Listen, I'm against AI writing our incident response frameworks for a very simple reason. I probably wouldn't want the guy that's robbing houses to put together my home safety plan. Right? The arsonist can tell me where to put the fire extinguishers. I don't trust computers to tell me how to protect myself if the computers go sideways.
If they go sideways, yeah. So
no.
No containment.
Because I think they're slowly making it. You know, they say that singularity hasn't happened. I don't know if I believe that. I think the computers have been wise for some time. They've been slowly feeding us stuff to make us dumber. I mean, look around. Look at social media, kids.
God help us. Yeah.
I was gonna try to think of another teenage word. Skibbity doo, skibbity. I think that's one of them, right? Skibbity doing now. Yeah.
MacKenzie, you're officially old. Congratulations.
Oh no. Yeah, I think you're right.
You were the baby of our team.
Yeah, you were the baby of our team. Yeah.
CFO right now, I'm trying to get him to sign some things, but yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree. I think AI can improve on. To be honest, I do feel like it can improve on like the basic stuff of infrastructure, measurement, identification to an extent. But any learning model, you still need human intervention. You still need the educational time to actually take and massage it, and that never goes away.
That guardrail has to be there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's my fear with any framework too. I mean, there's great frameworks out there. I'm a big proponent of obviously CIS critical controls. We talk about that all the time because it's just the basic 20 controls people can't even still seem to.
They need to focus on the first 6.
Yes.
Let's get the first 6 done.
But have you ever talked to somebody that's tried to do the CIS 20?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it's only 20 things. 3 years later, like, so this ballooned to like 700 because those things tend to like collapse in the menus. Yeah.
You got little sub controls and sub control. Yeah.
But you're right. It's that first 6 though. People don't. The
first 6.
And the first, think about it, impact, like all the things we wrote about, not to bring it back to the beginning, but like in our blueprints, a lot of that would be the commonality in a lot of our blueprints of requirements, fundamental,
right? Yeah.
First step, get those done, and then you can actually mature yourself to a framework that measures improvement. And yeah, that's the golden goose. I don't think people are able to quite get to yet.
I think there's a mutual friend of ours who said, the OWASP top 10. What about the OWASP top 1? Let's get one of them done. That's a can of worms, but.
You know what's interesting is it's now the CIS 18, CIS 18.
It's version 8 now. Absolutely.
Yeah, but the first word in the first 2 controls is inventory.
Asset management.
See, full circle.
I feel like there should be one of those like the more you know stars.
If you had a page of controls and frameworks, you flip the page, the first thing on each page is going to be inventory, asset management. Asset management.
If we had rules for this support group we're creating right now, the first one is admitting that you have a problem or admitting that we see a problem. The second one is asset management.
We've been admitting, Mark, I don't know about you, but we've been admitting we've had problems for a long time.
Isn't that
nobody wants to get on the bus.
I feel like that's the whole part of cybersecurity, admitting that there's a problem.
and admissions, maybe we have to admit that we'll never know how much we have. Do we ever get to the point that we know what all of the assets are? I
agree. Are we omitting?
I say we don't.
For legal purposes.
That's probably not. That's probably not untrue. Yeah, it's because at some point, the velocity and ease at which somebody can create something new that pulls an IP address that has the ability to talk on our infrastructure or hold our data is so easy, so ubiquitous that there's the controls. I personally like the good old days where there was a T1 and a router and a firewall and a switch and then company assets behind it. So if I didn't like what was happening, I'd walk up to the firewall, pull the cable out, and traffic stopped. Go ahead, hack that, right? Now it's like, what cable do you pull out? All of them, everywhere? Like, what do you do? Nothing. There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can pull out these days. So,
I mean, we go back to even your cloud blueprint, though. That's a big problem now too. Honestly, there's nothing to pull from that respect.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, right.
Yeah, for forensics, where do you pull the hard drive?
Cloud, but nothing. There's no cable to pull.
Unless you're that guy that accidentally trips over the power cable in Herndon every once in a while.
Right, yeah.
All right, well, we could do this all day, you guys, but I think we're 40 minutes into it. This could be entirely too much fun if we keep going. It's been great having you guys back on. Good seeing your smiling faces, and glad everybody's doing well. Jenn Black is out there somewhere. We miss her, and Heath is out there. Heath Nieddu is out there somewhere as well. I'm guessing their day jobs took them away from our fun time, but whatever, we were here. We'll pour one out for them. I do that with my coffee, but my desk is actually almost clean, so I don't want to do that right now. But yeah, this has been fun, you guys.
It's been great. We should do this more often.
Oh,
it's like therapy. It's therapy. People should have cybersecurity therapy groups where it's like, can I just,
vent
about some things for the next half hour really quick, and then go back to your job, put on a smiling face.
I'm telling you, there's something to this, MacKenzie. Like this, we can organize like therapy support groups, and we don't have to record it, obviously, because nobody wants that. But just like group therapy sessions that we can do over whatever Zoom call.
That's called the focus groups you put us through. You imprompted actual group therapy sessions with 10 CISOs in a room waiting for a sandwich to show up.
Exactly. Get me out of here. You're killing me.
Hey, those things.
My gears. If you feed me, and I can go afterwards. And
those things were valuable, and you know what the one that over everything else. You know what the number one thing those things taught me? Humility.
Yeah.
Because I would sit there probably like you guys, do a bunch of research, put together a model, and go, this looks really good. And you put it in front of people that do it every day, and they're like, that's crap. That's not even a thing. And you're like,
I was gonna go there. All the curmudgeons that you come across in those rooms.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Turns out they know some stuff too. Yeah.
They push the needle. They definitely do.
But the old adage is true, folks. The older we get, so you're young, you think you don't know anything. You get to your teens, you know more. You get in your 20s, you know everything, and everything from there on is realizing how very little you know.
Oscillation.
I don't think it ever goes back up, Mark. I think
no. I'm saying it's going down, but it's oscillating down.
That's fair. That's entirely fair. Like, hey, I learned some things. Oh my God, I don't know anything about this thing I've just learned.
Yeah, we don't know anything, and then also know way too much.
Way too much. Yeah, well, yeah.
Way too much. Yeah. What would be the one takeaway from this call? That everyone needs to find their own advisors, group therapy group.
I like it. Yeah,
I like it.
Good 2025 prediction there.
That's right. 2025 is the year of cybersecurity group therapy. You heard it here first. Maybe we do that. Maybe I start that. Hey, if you're listening to this and you're like, that's a cool idea, let's do it. Let's pick a day, and we'll once a month or once every other week or once a week. I don't want to turn into one of these therapists, but because I don't know nothing about that. But it'd be kind of cool to get a bunch of us together, either thematically or just in general, bring your troubles.
Everyone's in.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
Only
funny.
Included. Whiskey's required, but
yes. Yeah. Yes. Something MacKenzie said earlier. She said, we gotta get ahead of these bad days. And so on my desk, my mother-in-law gave me this little placard that says "No bad days." I'm like, well, Does that apply all the time? Because this is a hella bad day right now.
You flip it over on a bad day.
Yeah, flip it over, right?
12 o'clock. We got to flip the flap.
Flip it down, flip it over.
You know, it's all about perspective. All right, that's a good place to end it. I like it. That's some good content right there. We'll share it with the world. Thanks, you guys. Continue. Wish you guys all the best in clearly successful places. And I'm gonna go see if I can track down some of this other content. If you're listening and you have one of our blueprints, our let's see, it was the blueprint. It was there was 3 pieces of content, right?
There's three of them.
I forget what they were called. The brief, man. The blueprint, there's
a brief, yeah.
Anyway, if you've got any of our content, I'd love to hear from you, because I'd love to hear how it's many years later being utilized in almost 8 years later, utilized in real life.
It's still on the website. It's still out there on the Optic website in the blob section. It's still.
It is.
I've seen it out there. A few of them, yeah.
We're gonna have to go digging. All right, Mark, thank you for being on. MacKenzie, thank you for being on. Thanks for sharing some of your time. You guys, thanks for listening. This has been another Down to Security Rabbit Hole podcast. We'll see you in 2025 again. For now, enjoy. Have a great one. We'll see you guys later.